Hello guys, Friday, which means a video from my office, not that much about technical Laravel, but more about dev career and productivity. And today I want to kind of answer one of your questions on YouTube. It's not even a question, it's more like a sad story, which we don't talk about enough, I think. So I've been talking a lot about the market conditions being hard, so it's hard to get jobs, and I give some advice how to maybe increase your chances. But under the hood, for people who are unemployed, especially unemployed for quite a while, it's hard mentally. And I feel the need to address those people and to tell them something. Now, of course, disclaimer. First, I'm not in that position. I'm not looking for a job for quite a while, to be honest, because I'm earning from my courses now. So I don't fully understand that position. I cannot internalize that. And also, of course, I'm not an expert on mental issues or psychological stuff. So disclaimer. Whatever I say here, I'm in a privileged position. But I think my words still can help with some advice that I think is actionable. Let's try. And also along the way, I will show you one thing that job descriptions that you may want to apply for are not really telling you. There's one important thing that people often misunderstand in job descriptions. But first, mental state if you're unemployed for a while. Of course, it's hard and it often works in a spiral. So you have anxiety that you don't have a job, then you try to do something about it, you fail, and then there's more anxiety. Then you may start questioning your skills, more fundamental questions to ask, and then it goes even more deeper in anxiety, which makes it even harder for you to get the job position because basically you don't believe in your abilities anymore. So first, do not allow that spiral to happen. Do not overemphasize and do not make the colors even darker than they really are to yourself. Do not try to convince yourself that it's all bad, that you're a victim of circumstance. Try to focus on the next action. Recently, I've read about a concept called solution-focused thinking. So if you have some kind of problem or issue, you have two choices. Basically, constantly think about how issue is bad and then making it worse because you're focusing on complaining within yourself instead of solution. Or try to think, what is the first, the least, the smallest thing I can do towards the solution. So that's kind of my first piece of advice. I know sometimes it's not easy, but solution-focused thinking instead of problem-focused thinking may help you to get the first steps out of bad mental shape. This is kind of a philosophical, a bit even woo-woo level thing, but I think in this case for this video is pretty important. So focus on what you can do. And what you can do is apply for jobs. Of course, every situation while looking for a job is individual. It depends on your skills, your area of expertise, where you live, what do you apply for, what companies offer, and stuff like that. But basically, just keep trying until success. That's the only recipe I know for almost anything in life. So first, if you haven't sent at least 10 or 20 CVs, don't even start thinking that you're a failure or something like that. But then the important part of sending the CV process, and I've been talking about it in previous videos on this channel, that especially in recent months, the jobs are taken by those who are familiar to employer. So technically you can avoid all the queue of all the CVs which may be ignored if the employer knows you from some project. So the advice here is, while trying to get a job at a company, find about that company, find more details, find who works there, find what they actually do, what projects do they work on, try to possibly create some kind of similar project on GitHub, for example, which would put you on their radar if you, for example, tweet about that project. So you may get noticed, and that would put your kind of foot in the door a bit closer, increase your chance. In other words, don't just blindly send the CVs, make your research about specific companies, job positions, and people, and try to somehow impress them. Maybe do something that they would notice you on social media or in your community or elsewhere. Now, as I promised, let's talk about job descriptions and what are they kind of hiding from you, preventing you from sending the CV to that particular company. So I found this pretty random job description on Larajobs, which lists the required qualifications. So experience in PHP and Laravel, technical leadership, MySQL, PostgreSQL, and others. So the first general interpretation in our minds as developers is that we need to have all those things here in our CV, only then we are allowed to send the CV to that company. But what is missing here is the detail on which level does that company actually uses one or another technology. In many cases, I find that some technology is used only on small percentage of their projects, which you may not even work on. It would be, of course, a benefit, a plus, if you know that technology, so you may be in a position to potentially work on that project. But even after being hired, there's a chance you will not even touch it. So for example, they list MySQL and PostgreSQL. Are you sure you would work on both in that company? I think they would assign you to a project with one or another system. Or for example, front-end technologies like Vue.js, React, or similar. So if you have Vue.js experience but not React, does it mean that you don't really fit? Or the other way around, if you're a React developer, how to interpret that? And then important word, familiarity. They often list familiarity with certain technologies, which means that it's enough for you to understand, to be familiar with how that works. You would not necessarily even have to write the code in that language or framework or technology. It may be enough for you to understand how that works. You would be able to install the project locally and maybe consult the front-ender who would work with React. So if you understand how React works in general, then you would be able to build the Laravel API, for example, more suitable for React front-end client. So what I'm trying to say here is, if you see a job description and you think you're not a perfect fit, then first, you're still allowed to send the CV. No one would actually punish you for that. But then also, if you see the gaps in your technology stack, for example, if you don't work with React, but that job requires familiarity with React, it's enough for you to basically build a hello world in React locally to understand how it works, and then you would be able to list the familiarity with React on your CV. You don't have to be expert in React to list that technology on your CV in the section of I'm familiar with. So what I would do probably if I'm on a long road to search for a job, I would analyze job descriptions, keep sending the CVs, and then try to notice the gaps that I have in my tech stack and would try to learn them along the way. So see missing gaps, improve your tech stack, build some project on GitHub or elsewhere, post about it, and then do the same thing in the loop. Keep improving, keep posting what you're working on, keep sending the CVs, keep trying to get on the radar of specific people at specific companies, and that would greatly improve your chance. Of course, I cannot guarantee the success because there may be other factors. For example, maybe the presentation of how you present your CV or how you talk about your work if you get into interview. Maybe there are other issues, not necessarily about the tech stack. But I hope you get the idea. This is kind of my advice without any too much like rehearsal or planning. This is what I would advise as action plan while looking for a job in 2024. But the most important part, if we get back to the original question about mental health, is to not allow yourself to get into a spiral of anxiety and negativity. Even if you think that you're not good enough for job positions, that may be temporary. You can get better and get qualified and get a job. Not sure if I brought some hope or positive energy. I was trying to do that. What do you think? Let's discuss that position both from the point of view of that person who is struggling to find a job. What would you advise them? And if you did succeed to find a job recently, any advice that you can give, both from technical point of view and about psychological mental state. That's it for this time, and see you guys in other videos.